Even before Laura and Travis Magera revamped their backyard and built 2 ponds, it was a fine family place to be. But when their children, Naomi and Daniel, outgrew the lawn's playscape, Laura decided it was time for the ponds she'd always wanted. As an emergency room nurse, the ponds are personal therapy after 12-hour shifts.
I just love fish. I love koi. I love plants. I love being outdoors. So it just is something I've wanted when I was a kid, pictured how my yard would look.
I like the challenge of building something and doing things. I've always had projects in the backyard. I do all sorts of different things in the house and the backyard.
The first pond didn't happen over a few weekends. In fact, it almost didn't happen at all. After Travis dug into huge rocks, he gave that project a miss. Eventually, he couldn't resist the challenge, and when he's not digging out stubborn rocks, he's got a different attitude about them.
Going to the rock supplier and walking through and saying, hey, I like that one, I want this one, I want this one. The waterfall on the first pond, obviously big rocks stacked up, trying to bring the water over, but then trying to randomize rocks and not get, too direct in their placement, but being direct in how you place them. I don't like, 2 similar rocks side by side. I want variation, and I work with I'll try to, in groups of 3 or 5, odd number groups as I put things together.
Naomi made a pot the other day. I said, put another one in there. She said, no, I like odd numbers, groups of 3. Yeah.
They named the first pond for the transformed version of tranquility and wonder. Actually, part of the tranquil process was making mistakes and together modifying them. Quickly they learned that the 2-foot pond was too shallow for Laura's koi.
I bought koi. I shouldn't have done. They said, I knew it wasn't big enough for koi, so said everything I read, but I couldn't resist, and I put koi in there anyway, and all they did was hide, because they like to swim 3 feet below the water to feel safe.
And we discovered on the first pond, the reason it's only 2 feet deep is because that's a lot of rock, and we tried to dig it by hand. I used a jackhammer, but I tried to do it all by hand and in a short period of time, and we stopped.
So when they built the second pond, Travis brought in an excavator to dig down well over 4 feet. Now the koi are most gregarious in their new digs. It wasn't an overnight project either. They named it Pilfered Rock for all the rocks they collected for over a year. Laura even bought its centerpiece long before they started digging. They built their design around it.
We added that waterfall a couple months later in the big pond,
yeah,
because
we needed more filtration, and we needed another feature to it.
We only had the top skimmer filtering off, and we needed something coming from the bottom, because that's the deepest part of the pond. Mm-hmm. And to make it as clear as we wanted. It's not as clear as we want it right now because of the oak tannins dye the water, but it's clearer than it would be if we didn't have the extra filter in there.
They're friends with each fish, most named after family and friends. In the shallow first pond, they raise goldfish. Although the fish don't rely on food from them, it's fun to throw a treat from the old gumball machine they modified. With the soil they dug up, they built a berm for evergreen structure and flowering plants. They tuck in family pass-alongs too.
It creates elevations, creates that effect, gives you a little more viewing surface. So when you're sitting at the pond, you can see the side of a hill with some plants on it. And then I've always liked having tiered elements when I do plants or something. I don't want everything at the same level. I like to have that perspective. It offers you focal points. You can look between the valleys and see stuff, or you can look at the peak of the hill and see stuff.
They left a path between the berm and fence. For one thing, access to plant and fence maintenance. Equally important, as all dog owners know, was to leave room for squirrel border patrol. Laura has an eye for just the right accents. To border the pond's living space, as well as the outdoor rooms on an upper level near the house, Travis laid Oklahoma hickory. He chose crushed granite as infill. As construction manager for Balfour Beatty, with a degree in landscape architecture, he knew how to unite the spaces with a safe foothold.
The flagstone covers a lot of square footage. Crushed granite's easy to work with. Infill, it locks in the stone without using a mortar bed or concrete or anything, and it breathes, so the water still will go through and water the trees and whatever root systems are underneath.
They spend a lot of time on the upper patios. Laura extends her love of water up close. Even on a summer's night, it's truly a cool place to hang out.
We like where we live. We don't want to move.
Right.
And our house is big enough for us, but we just built on. It's like we built onto our house, building onto our yard. It's like we'd prefer to be out here.
This is a living room. Naomi will come out and she'll
Read.
sit with.
She reads
she'll
out here
read
by
out
the
here
pond.
and sit with Laura in the evenings and watch the fish.
It's peaceful out here.
They bring the garden up close with Laura and Naomi's containers.
We started with just a few, and then it's grown and grown and grown, and it's just kind of a hobby of mine with putting them together. My daughter and I like to go and buy them, pick out the ones we like, the unusual ones. It's always a work in progress. It's a fun afternoon project after school that we do. We call them our pot projects.
In this organic garden, they adopted a no-kill insect policy since they don't want to harm the abundant wildlife attracted to the water. Indoor pets like perching out with the family on the patio, African gray parrot Taz requested we get her best angle. Young Piper, a parrotlet, insisted we were really there to visit her. With all this to inspire them, chores like cleaning the pumps and dipping out oak leaves in spring go very quickly.
It's a hobby. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's relaxing. It's really what we like to do. So when you come home, we look
I
forward
work in
to
an
it.
emergency room. It's
Yeah.
awfully nice to come home
Yeah.
after 12 hours and unwind. This is where I decompress after a 12-hour shift.
One of the things she enjoys doing, especially after rain like yesterday, is to go out and pull the weeds because they're easy to pull.
On my days off, when I'm not at work, I'm usually here working in the yard. It's a lot of work, but it's a good kind of work for me and him, as we found something that we both like to do. We don't go out as much as we used to.
No.
Or I asked him where we're going to go for dinner, and he's like, how about our favorite spot? I was like, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, here.